Bernanke because of this speech where he says, if you have a depression, you take bales of dollar bills and put them on the front lawns of bankers, and then you reflate the system with hot money. And as Lautenbach says, that doesn't work because a lot of that money will flee overseas as hot money. And that's what we've had with the TARP, right? The money went to Barclays of Britain, to Deutsche Bank of Germany, to Société Générale of France, investments in Dubai, in India, in Israel, and the U.S. automobile industry is collapsing. So that doesn't work. Then, says Lautenbach, what is left is building infrastructure. In other words, permanent, valuable upgrades and improvements to the capital stock of your nation. Long-term, durable investments in rail systems, transportation, electricity generation, canals, locks, water systems, electronic infrastructure of all sorts. And he says the problem with that is simply the banks need to be supported by a national bank. Let's say the United States decides to build 50,000 miles of maglev rail, and we want to have a railroad from New York to San Francisco. We want to have a northern transcontinental, a southern transcontinental, and then we have New York to San Francisco. You'd issue bonds. The bonds would be bought by banks. In other words, the states or the federal government could issue bonds for this. As long as the person who buys the bonds can turn around as a banker and say to the Federal Reserve, I want money for that. In other words, I'm giving you a transcontinental maglev bond priced at 100. You're going to give me 99. In other words, you're going to discount that bond. In that case, you have nationalized the Federal Reserve. You have forced the Federal Reserve to stop doing what they're doing. What they do now is everything for the bankers, nothing for production.
And let's explain.
Turn yourself on your head, Bernanke. Let's turn Bernanke on his head.
But let's explain. Stop. Let's explain this trick, because this is subtlety. While people don't get it. This is the subtlety to all of this. The media is claiming that they're covertly nationalizing everything. It's the opposite. Private banks, through the private Federal Reserve, working with their revolving door minions in the Treasury, are transferring everything offshore into their coffers. So as things implode, they can buy up goods. So it's a predatory, kind of cannibalistic economy. Okay, so you're really talking about doing the opposite, truly nationalizing it, and then freeing up that power of credit to then turn human dreams loose, and then we'll have literal milk and honey.
Well, yeah, we can certainly get out of a depression and go in the direction of that. The thing is to nationalize the Federal Reserve, to make it a bureau of the Treasury. Right now, everything the Federal Reserve does is decided on by unelected, unaccountable, anonymous bankers, especially in those Federal Reserve districts, right? A couple of weeks ago, Helicopter Ben dumped $1 trillion on the market by buying government securities. That's the Federal Open Market Committee. A lot of people on the Federal Open Market Committee come from these regional Federal Reserve banks. They have never even been approved by the Senate. They're just private bankers usurping this power of bankers over the government. And that's already, I think, it's a terrible thing. So you want to roll that back.
And Limbaugh calls that a free market, having private bankers rob you.
I would say let's stop talking about free markets. I've never seen one. I've never heard of one. I don't think there's been a free market for 5,000 or 10,000 years.
No, but that's the point I'm making is they keep calling this freedom and capitalism and all of this, and it's not. It's a real economy down here, and above it, these people with godlike financial powers who just create tens of trillions of nothing and buy up whatever they want, and then they call it free market as they tax us to breathe reality into their false reality.
Yeah, when Limbaugh says free market, he means the sanctity of the $1.5 quadrillion derivatives bubble, which is a product of the free market. Remember, the derivatives were illegal from 1936 to 1982. There had been an attempt to corner the wheat price using options in the Depression. So during the New Deal, 1936, ban option trading of agricultural commodities for any reason. So that's a long period when we were doing much better, where derivatives were illegal. Then in 82, it was legalized by Ronald Reagan. Then we get Wendy Graham comes on the scene in 1992. She says we're going to have a safe harbor for derivatives. Then there's a big fight under Clinton. Brooksley Born says we ought to at least make these reportable. And then Larry Summers, who's now running the Obama regime economic line, Larry Summers gets on the phone with Brooksley Born and says, how dare you call for the reportability of derivatives? So with the help of Greenspan and Rubin and Summers and now the current crew, the Geithners and Paulsons and so forth. The idea is that the derivatives have become the center of the economy, but they don't dare say this. They say toxic assets, counterparties, unwind, exotic instruments, complex derivatives, but they generally don't want to say derivatives.
It's
but
the center.
The whole thing is the derivatives.
It's the center of the black hole.
Absolutely.
And then they parade around in priest robes saying, we're the magical Federal Reserve. You can't question us. You're communist. You're communist. When really, they're literally the people feeding everything into their fraud. It's like counterfeiting with derivatives. They just make up crap, and now that it's all falling in, they say, you've got to have your taxes raised to pay for this, and they call that free market, as Obama announces in the Wall Street Journal. They're going to gut the whole tax code to go after even the poorest people with basically no tax exemptions on your house, education, nothing, and then they call this free market.
Yeah. We know how to get out of a depression. You get out of a depression by doing things like, first of all, wiping out derivatives. They were illegal. Make them illegal again. Shred them, delete them, get rid of them. Ban adjustable rate mortgages.
Arrest the bankers.
Stop foreclosures.
Arrest the bankers.
Arrest somebody like Geithner, who was sitting at the Federal Reserve there in New York City and arranged to get that money for AIG, and Paulson from Goldman Sachs, who made sure that the TARP was designed so that the biggest single beneficiary of the TARP so far seems to be Goldman Sachs, his company. So he's got colossal conflicts of interest. This guy Summers also, his role in bringing the derivatives plague into the world. And don't forget Greenspan. So get rid of derivatives. Outlaw hedge funds. AIG is two things. AIG is a hedge fund in London that sells derivatives. Let's never have that again. Let's ban hedge funds. Let's wipe out derivatives. Let's stop foreclosures. You want to stop foreclosures? Easy. Make it illegal. Federal law, no more foreclosures. 5 years or the duration of the crisis.
Or it will continue to infect and create a black hole in what's left of the real economy.
Yeah, then you can work that out
later. And then
later.
it's Stone Age. Stay there, though. And I don't want to hear this as socialism, folks, because $12 trillion of the bankers, that is just highway robbery. Okay, we need to arrest these people, and we have to start thinking about that idea. Stay there, Webster.
Let's go to the heart of the matter. Life Change Tea has had some commercials that are not appealing to those who live in denial. Maybe we are to believe there are no parasites in the world, and that having a clogged colon is good for you, that being overweight is absolutely healthy, that there are no unhealthy chemicals in the air, and last but not least, fluoride in your water is good for you. Not. Get the tea. Change your body and life from unhealthy to healthy. Order online at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Or order online at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea, the tea that changes how you feel.
Hello, Ted Anderson. Listeners of the network are familiar with the Federal Reserve note and understand the risks of deficit spending. Therefore, with catastrophic events, it comes as no surprise that some banks have currently placed limits on the amount of cash depositors can remove from their accounts. A fractional reserve system means only a small portion of your deposit is held in reserve for immediate withdrawal. Deficit spending will skyrocket through FDIC if the government is forced to insure deposits during a bank run followed by a depressed economy. A current effort is underway by the Fed along with other central banks to increase liquidity for depositors. However, an increase in money supply without equal expansion in productivity can cause inflation. In order to achieve strength and stability, I recommend a conservative portion of all investments to be calmly repositioned into gold and silver. While paper investments currently have been driven by debt, gold on its own has held value for over 6,000 years. For more information, call 1-800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.
In the New World Order's war against humanity, Barack Obama is the tip of the spear.
We've got to give them a stake